Implement the following 13-point strategy, some of which connects information given earlier in this book, especially related to avoiding overtraining, and you can extend the growth stage of a training cycle considerably. Then you can notch up more muscular gains before finally starting a new training cycle. Rule number 1. You must be a model of dedication and commitment. To make the most of the final leg of each cycle, you must be 101% dedicated to training and training-related matters. Compromise on anything and you will compromise on your gains, but maintain an extraordinary level of dedication without neglecting the rest of your life. Remember that what is very important to you is unlikely to be as important for your family, friends, and fellow workers. Just get on with applying your dedication in your own private way. Rule number 2, you must train hard. All the talk, study, and whatever else about training counts for nothing when you have to give your all to squeezing out another good form rep, and then another, and then another. Here is when you discover how much you want bigger and stronger muscles. Here is when your mettle is tested. Here is where the buck stops with you. If you do not deliver the effort, then forget about gains no matter how conscientiously you may satisfy all the other requirements of productive training. Relish the hard work. Savor the final and most taxing reps of a set, the domain of the growth zone. Revel in the opportunity to stimulate further growth, and then give your pound of flesh. Rule number 3, get your training well supervised. Good supervision, whether from a training partner or someone else, is a first-class way of getting you to deliver more than you would by yourself. Do your utmost to get supervised over at least the final leg of cycle. When you need all the encouraging and even bullying, you can get to push yourself to new heights of effort. Quit on the effort, and you will quit on the gains. Rule number 4. At the end of a cycle, reduce your training for each exercise to warm-ups plus 1 intensive work set. The harder you train, the less of it you can do, and the less of it you can stand. The greater the volume of your training, the more you will need to dilute your effort to survive each workout. Reduce your training to the absolute minimum, i.e., warm-ups plus a single work set per exercise, and focus all your usual efforts on the reduced training volume. Then you should see an increase in your training intensity. That can make the difference between growth stimulation and muscle maintenance. You will also demand less from your recuperative powers and better enable your body to respond to the growth stimulus. To ensure sustained progression on the biggest and most important exercises during the final leg of a cycle, severely reduce or temporarily eliminate all other exercises. You may even need to drop 1 or 2 of the biggest exercises in order to keep progressing on the others. For example, your progress may grind to a halt in the squat and deadlift, each trained once a week. But drop one of them and then progress in the other may keep moving forward and the cycle can continue for a while yet. Rule number 5, train each body part less often. Following on the heels of training volume is training frequency. At the end of a cycle, you may need less of both, depending on what you were doing earlier on. Arrange exercises so that overlapping ones, e.g., bench press and overhead press, squat and bent-legged deadlift, are done the same day so you have sufficient rest days in between hits. If in doubt, take an extra day or 2 of rest. Experiment with less frequent hard training for the biggest exercises. For example, squat and deadlift intensively only once every 10 days. See if that helps you to keep adding weight each session. Rule number 6, use small poundage increments. The closer you get to the limits of a given cycle, the more important it is to add only a very small increment when you increase the poundage of a top set. The typical minimum jump of 5 pounds is out. An exception here is if you are performing some big poundage, extremely short-range exercise, where you can keep going with relatively large increments. Add 1 pound next workout, and you should still get your target reps, especially in the big exercises. You may even be able to keep 2 pounds a week coming for quite a while towards the end of a cycle, in the very big exercises such as the squat and deadlift. In smaller exercises like the curl, add half a pound a week or 2 100-gram discs. Rule number 7, boost your diet. It is at the end of a cycle, when you are pushing yourself to the hilt and wanting to do it again and again, that you must be absolutely certain you are not compromising on your diet. Boost your diet. Hike up your intake of animal protein. Make it specific, like the addition of 2 cans of water-packed tuna a day, or 2 protein shakes you can easily digest. Such a protein boost will also give you a calorie boost. But all trainees do not need a boost in their caloric intake in order to keep gains coming. If you cannot afford to gain any body fat, then compensate for the protein boost by clipping calories from your fat and carbohydrate intake, so that you end up with a diet having the same calories as before, but with about 100 grams of additional protein. And make sure every scrap of food you eat is high quality. If you are not already doing so, take a broad-spectrum vitamin and mineral supplement. Your micronutrient needs may increase at the end of a training cycle, but taking a multivitamin mineral supplement may not be enough. There are micronutrients that are not available in supplement form. Be sure in particular that you consume more green leafy vegetables, yellow-orange vegetables, and seeds, e.g., pumpkin and sunflower. Rule number 8. Go overboard with rest and sleep. The harder you train, and the deeper you go into new poundage territory, the more you demand from your powers of recovery. Therefore, you need to deliver more rest and sleep than usual. Not only do you have to provide the rest and sleep needed to recover from the immediate effects of training, but you have to provide additional rest and sleep so your body can grow. Getting adequate sleep is pivotal for enabling your body to recover optimally from training. Most trainees shortchange themselves in the sleep department, and as a result restrict their rate of progress in the gym. As noted in Chapter 14, if you are a hard gainer in intensive training, 8 hours of sleep each night should be your rock-bottom minimum if you are serious about making good progress. A full quota of sleep means getting to sleep as soon as you feel drowsy in the evening and sleeping until you wake naturally. If you are awoken by some other means, then you cannot have had your full quota of sleep. To milk a cycle dry, cut back aerobic work to the minimum intensity and duration, or temporarily eliminate it. Rule number 9. Optional. Further increase training intensity. Once you are consistently applying rules 1 through 8, you could try to increase growth stimulation by raising training intensity a notch. This option, however, is not for everyone. Many of you may be better off moving to rule number 10 and skipping number 9. If you are up to it and want to see if it helps you to keep adding a little poundage every week or two, do not end a set after the very final rep you can squeeze out. Go to the next rep and do as much of it as you can. Do not cheat it up. Keep your form tight and do as much of the rep as you can. Put your heart into it. Do not relax the effort once you have got the bar as high as you can. Now you have reached concentric failure. Give your all to holding the resistance at the highest point you can get to, which will not be far into the rep if you have gone to the limit in the complete reps. Maintain the static hold for as long as you can, and then fight like hell to stop gravity pulling the bar down. You will then have reached isometric failure. Then resist the eccentric as if your life depended on it. If you have strong and competent spotters, and are really up to the absolute limit of intensity, then have your spotters lift the resistance for you so that you can resist another eccentric. Continue this procedure for another eccentric or 2 or 3, until you cannot control the descent. Control means that you can take at least 4 seconds to lower the resistance. Your spotters must be super vigilant and ready to take the resistance from you as soon as you can no longer control its descent. This final stint of paralytic training will take you to eccentric failure. Do this properly and you will have trained to utter failure. Supply the necessary factors for recuperation, and this to utter failure training of just 1 set for an exercise at the end of a cycle may help you to get more growth mileage out of the cycle. But if you have not cut back your sets and/or training frequency and have not boosted your diet, rest, and sleep, the intensity hike will wipe you out, overtrain you, and cause you to lose strength. For this intensity hike, do not go to eccentric failure on all the exercises in a given workout. Isometric failure is enough for most exercises, and perhaps more than enough. Only go to eccentric failure for 1 or at most 2 exercises per workout, varying which exercises you select from week to week. Do not go to eccentric failure for any given exercise more than once every 4 weeks. Use a less severe training intensity the other times you train the exercise. Rule number 10. Cut back a little, get some momentum going again, have some coasting weeks as well, and then forge on. When you have applied rules 1 through 8, and perhaps number 9 too, and you cannot add a single pound to any exercise, you could try back cycling to get some gaining momentum going again. Take a few days extra rest and then cut back 5 to 10% in all your top sets. Drop the 2 absolute failure training if you were implementing rule number 9. Take 3 to 4 weeks to inch back to where you were, and then forge on to a few weeks of new poundage territory. Then, to drag it out a little more, Have some coasting weeks where you intentionally repeat the poundages and reps from the previous week or two, and make no attempt to increase poundages or reps. This lull will enable you to garner your mental and physical resources for another spell of gaining. Rule number 11. As an alternative to rule number 9, increase pauses between reps in order to permit more poundage increments. While increasing the rest period between sets and exercises will help you to keep up your reps as the poundages increase, especially if you are performing multiple work sets per exercise, increasing the between reps pauses may make a bigger contribution. As an alternative to rule number 9, take a few more seconds rest before each rep. Only increase the length of the between reps pauses once you have exhausted the first 8 rules for sustaining progress. As you keep notching up the poundages, you can take a bit more rest between reps. This should be enough to get an extra few weeks of poundage progression out of your current program. This can gradually move you from a regular style of rep performance to a rest pause one. You can even let it take you all the way into a full-blown rest pause program where you rest up to a minute between reps, actually setting the resistance down during the pauses. Do not take each between reps pause in a way that you increase fatigue, e.g., do not hang from the overhead bar when taking a pause while chinning. Stand on a bench instead. Rule number 12. If you know you are already training very hard but have stagnated, try reducing your training intensity. While most trainees are guilty of not training hard enough, some train too hard. Please review Chapter 9 for details. This appears to contradict some of the points of this chapter, but I want to cover more possibilities. If you know you are already training darn hard and have everything else in good order, but are still not gaining, try reducing your intensity a little. Drop your poundages by 5 to 10% and stop taking your sets to failure. Train hard, but not all out. Stop your work sets 1 or 2 reps short of what would be your actual limit. Increase the poundages by a little each week or two, so long as you get your target reps without having to go absolutely all out on the final rep or two. With time, you may build back to your previous limit poundages for the same reps, but without having to go 100% all out. Then work into new poundage territory. Rule number 13. Get rid of negativity. A mind occupied with negative thoughts will limit your progress. Be aware of your thoughts both while training and not training. Do not allow negative thoughts to dwell in your mind. Set them aside as soon as they appear. A period of practice will be needed before you can control your thoughts and get rid of negativity. If you are gaining in some body parts or exercises, but not in others, there are at least 2 explanations. First, you may have more potential in some areas than others. Second, and perhaps more likely, you are overtraining the stagnated areas. Discover what you are doing in the successful areas that you are not doing in the others, and apply the successful strategies elsewhere. For example, perhaps you are making good progress deadlifting just once a week for 3 sets of 6 to 8 reps, but are getting nowhere with your biceps by barbell curling 3 times a week for 3 sets of 8 reps, followed by 2 sets of 6 reps of alternate dumbbell curls. There are lessons there.